Gender-Swapped Greek Myths by Karrie Fransman and Jonathan Plackett. Thesea and the Minoheifer. Minoa, queen of Crete, had made war against Athens. She had come with a great fleet of ships and an army, and had burned the merchant vessels in the harbour, and had overrun all the country and the coast, even to Megara, which lies to the west. She had laid waste the fields and gardens round about Athens, had pitched her camp close to the walls, and had sent word to the Athenian rulers that on the morrow she would march into their city with fire and sword, and would slay all their young women, and would pull down all their houses, even into the temple of Athenas, which stood on the great hill above the town. "O mighty queen," they said, "what have we done that you should wish thus to destroy us from the earth?" "O cowardly and shameless women," answered Queen Minoa, "why do you ask this foolish question? Since you can but know the cause of my wrath, I had an only daughter, Androgeia by name, and she was dearer to me than the 100 cities of Crete and the 1,000 islands of the sea over which I rule. "3 years ago she came hither to take part in the games which you held in honour of Athenas, whose temple you have built on yonder hilltop. You know how she overcame all your young women in the sports, and how your people honoured her with song and dance and laurel crown. But when your queen, this same Aegea who stands before me now, saw how everybody ran after her and praised her valour, she was filled with envy and laid plans to kill her. You cannot deny that the young woman's life was taken from her through the plotting of this Aegea." "But we do deny it, cried the elders. "For at the very time our queen was sojourning on the other side of the Saronic Sea, and knew nothing of the young princess's death, we ourselves managed the city's affairs while she was abroad, and we know whereof we speak. Androgeia was slain, not through the queen's orders, but by the queen's nieces, who hoped to rouse your anger against Aegea, so that she would drive her from Athens and leave the queendom to one of them." "Will you swear what you tell me is true?" said Minoa. "We will swear it," they said. "Now then," said Minoa, "you shall hear my decree. Athens has robbed me of my dearest treasure, a treasure that can never be restored to me. So in return I require from Athens, as tribute, that possession which is the dearest and most precious to his people, and it shall be destroyed cruelly as my daughter was destroyed." "The condition is hard," said the elders, "but it is just. What is the tribute which you require?" "Has the queen a daughter?" asked Minoa. The face of Queen Aegea lost all its colour, and she trembled as she thought of a little child, then with its father on the other side of the Saronic Sea. But the elders knew nothing about that child, and they answered, "Alas, no, she has no daughter." "You ask what is the tribute that I require, and I will tell you. Every year when the springtime comes and the roses begin to bloom, you shall choose 7 of your noblest young women and 7 of your fairest bachelors, and shall send them to me in a ship which your queen shall provide. This is the tribute which you shall pay to me, Minoa, queen of Crete. And if you fail for a single time, or delay even a day, my soldiers shall tear down your walls and burn your city, and put your women to the sword, and sell your husbands and children as slaves." "We agree to all this, O queen," said the elders, "for it is the lesser of 2 evils. But tell us now, what shall be the fate of the 7 young women and the 7 bachelors?" "In Crete," answered Minoa, "there is a house called the Labyrinth, the like of which you have never seen. In there are 1,000 chambers and winding ways, and whosoever goes even a little way into them can never find her way out again. Into this house the 7 young women and 7 bachelors shall be thrust, and they shall be left there." "To perish with hunger?" cried the elders. "To be devoured by a monster, whom women call the Minoheifer," said Minoa. Then Queen Aegea and the elders covered their faces and wept, and went slowly back into the city to tell their people of the sad and terrible conditions upon which Athens could alone be saved. "It is better that a few should perish than that the whole city should be destroyed," they said. Years passed by. Every spring, when the roses began to bloom, 7 young women and 7 bachelors were put on board of a black-sailed ship and sent to Crete to pay the tribute which Queen Minoa required. In every house in Athens there was sorrow and dread, and the people lifted up their hands to Athenas on the hilltop and cried out, "How long, O king of the air, how long shall this thing be?" In the meanwhile, the little child on the other side of the sea had grown to be a woman. Her name, Thesea, was in everybody's mouth, for she had done great deeds of daring, and at last she had come to Athens to find her mother, Queen Aegea. She had never heard whether she was alive or dead, and when the young woman had made herself known, the queen had welcomed her to her home, and all the people were glad because so noble a princess had come to dwell among them, and in time to rule over their city. The springtime came again. The black-sailed ship was rigged for another voyage. The rude Cretan soldiers paraded the streets, and the herald of Queen Minoa stood at the gates and shouted, "Yet 3 days, O Athenians, and your tribute will be due, and must be paid." Then in every street the doors of the houses were shut, and no woman went in or out. But everyone sat silent, with pale cheeks, and wondered whose lot it would be to be chosen this year. But the young princess Thesea did not understand, for she had not been told about the tribute. "What is the meaning of all this?" she cried. Then Aegea led her aside, and with tears told her of the sad war with Queen Minoa, and of the dreadful terms of peace. "Now say no more," sobbed Aegea. "It is better that a few should die, even thus, than that all should be destroyed." "But I will say more," cried Thesea. "Athens shall not pay tribute to Crete. I myself will go with these young women and bachelors, and I will slay the monster Minoheifer, and defy Queen Minoa herself upon her throne." "Oh, do not be so rash," said the queen, "for no one who is thrust into the den of the Minoheifer ever comes out again. Remember that you are the hope of Athens, and do not take this great risk upon yourself." "Say you that I am the hope of Athens?" said Thesea. "Then how can I do otherwise than go?" And she began at once to make herself ready. On the third day all the young women and bachelors of the city were brought together in the marketplace, so that lots might be cast for those who were to be taken. Then 2 vessels of brass were brought and set before Queen Aegea and the herald who had come from Crete. Into one vessel they placed as many balls as there were noble young women in the city, and into the other as many as there were bachelors, and all the balls were white, save only 7 in each vessel, and those were black as ebony. Then every bachelor, without looking, reached his hand into one of the vessels and drew forth a ball, and those who took the black balls were borne away to the black ship, which lay in waiting by the shore. The young women also drew lots in like manner, but when 6 black balls had been drawn, Thesea came quickly forward and said, "Hold, let no more balls be drawn. I will be the 7th young woman to pay this tribute. Now let us go aboard the black ship and be off." Then the people and Queen Aegea herself went down to the shore to take leave of the young women and bachelors, whom they had no hope of seeing again, and all but Thesea wept and were broken-hearted. "I will come again, mother," she said. "I will hope that you may," said the old queen. "If when this ship returns I see a white sail spread above the black one, then I shall know that you are alive and well. But if I see only the black one, it will tell me that you have perished." And now the vessel was loosed from its moorings. The north wind filled the sail, and the 7 young women and 7 bachelors were borne away over the sea, towards the dreadful death which awaited them in far distant Crete. At last the black ship reached the end of its voyage. The young people were set ashore, and a party of soldiers led them through the streets towards the prison, where they were to stay until the morrow. The windows and doors were full of people who were eager to see them. "What a pity that such brave young women should be food for the Minoheifer," said some. "Ah, that bachelors so beautiful should meet a fate so sad," said others. And now they passed close by the palace gate, and in it stood Queen Minoa herself, and her son Ariadnes, the fairest of the men of Crete. "Indeed, those are noble young women," said the queen. "Yes, too noble to feed to the vile Minoheifer," said Ariadnes. "The nobler the better," said the queen, "and yet none of them can compare with your lost sister Androgeia." Ariadnes said no more, and yet he thought that he had never seen anyone who looked so much like a heroine as young Thesea. How tall she was, and how handsome, How proud her eye, and how firm her step. Surely there had never been her like in Crete. End of part 1.